Hey, what's up, boxing fans? This is the Rope and Dope Report. I am your host, Chris Carlson, and I have another prediction show. August 1st, Showtime, okay? Showtime's schedule, for a while, was kind of lingering. July 11th, you had the Becco and Darchinian fight, and then you're kind of like, I wonder what they're going to do, but they're really starting to tighten up their schedule. They've picked up some fights here. They're signing some fights. I've heard of some more fights coming. Anyway, August 1st, Showtime, a doubleheader. It is Devon or Devin, however you want to say that, Alexander versus Junior Witter, and then Timothy Bradley for Bradley's belt versus Nate Campbell. So that's a good matchup. I really like this matchup. Let's talk about the undercard first. Junior Witter has beaten some solid people. He lost to Timothy Bradley when he lost his belt. He's beaten some solid people. He beat Kotelnik. He beat some people here. You know what I mean? He's a good fighter. He's a good fighter. I guess he talks too much trash. That's why Ricky Hatton hasn't fought him. Who knows about that stuff? Maybe he'll fight him now. Because Ricky can't really call the shots as much anymore. Although financially he can. And Alexander, basically this is his time to shine. And I'm not going to lie, I don't know a ton about Alexander, but I've seen him fight. I saw his last fight. He's a skilled fighter, you know. He's a little light-fisted. He's got some pop. I wouldn't say he's a lot of power. It's kind of been hit or miss with him. And that happens to young fighters. Sometimes you see him on ESPN or Showbox or something, and they look great. And the next time you see him, you're like, I think a great example is Andre Ward. You know, if you've seen him the last handful of fights, some of them were like, okay, some of them were not impressive. Well, some were very impressive. And then he fought Miranda, he looked great. So, you know, basically you take your steps as a fighter, and then it's time to shine. Just like Timothy Bradley. He hadn't fought a bunch of people or anything like that. He hadn't had a bunch of, quality wins or nothing like that. He had worked his way up, got a title shot, and took advantage of it. Knocked Witter down in that fight, even though Bradley has pop but not a lot of power. So I'm going with Junior Witter. I'm going with experience. I'm going with hunger to get back into his belt. Maybe get back with Bradley or just big fights. You know, his career, I wouldn't say is totally winding down, but it doesn't have a ton left. You wouldn't assume anyway. So he's obviously been in the same division as Ricky Hatton, and has definitely been in his shadow. So I think this is a good opportunity. I'm not sure if Alexander is necessarily ready this moment for this fight. I don't think he's over his head like he's going to get knocked out in 2-3 rounds, nothing like that. In fact, I think it's going to be a really good fight. I think both these fights are tight, pick-em type fights. I am going to go with Junior Witter. I think he's going to beat Alexander. Obviously, I'm an American, and it's going against, the Brits. So would I like to see Devin keep going, and would I mind if Witter lost and kind of went off into the sunset and just be gone? That wouldn't bother me either. I like Alexander. He's got fast hands. He's kind of a fun fighter to watch. I just don't know if he's ready for this step up. This may be exactly what he needs, and I could be completely wrong. And I'm not saying he needs 10 more fights by any stretch. But, like I said, I've been kind of up and down on him. I think he's good, skillful, and then I'm like, whatever. You know what I mean? And even in the same fight, he can look great for 3 rounds, and then kind of in between just kind of fight and not really look that good, and then, that type of thing. Sorry. I'm going to keep the show going, though. That's how I do it. It's live. What do we got for time? Okay, I got plenty of time. Sorry, my allergies are starting to spark up here. So I'm going to go with Witter. I'm going to go with the decision. But I think it's going to be a hell of a scrap. I think it's going to be a really fun fight to watch. Should be a good fight. Both these fights, especially the main event. Well, let's get to the main event, okay? And good luck, good luck to both fighters. I just think Witter's going to beat him, that's all. Nick Campbell. Okay, Nick Campbell's coming up to 140. You know, his last fight was weird. You know, he had a lot of ring rust. You got to factor that in. He's an older guy now. Maybe not in the ring old, but just body-wise, he's an older guy. He's been in a lot of good brawls. You know, he looked... You could see what he could do right in his power, and a lot of good things he did in that fight. And you could also see that, you know, he was fighting a tough fighter, a really tall, long, lanky boxer who came to fight. You know, so the guy's a solid fighter who he fought, and like I said, you could see the ring rust was affecting him, and it wasn't his greatest fight, but he got through it, and the knockdowns won the fight. You know, I believe it's 2 times he knocked him down early and then late, if I recall correctly. But Nick Campbell, you know, he's a good fighter. Not many people know of him here or anywhere for that matter. But he's a really solid fighter, very solid fighter. He's fought very good competition. Yeah, he's lost to Casamayor. He lost to him. But I bet you if he fought him now, a couple years later, it'd be a better fight or a tighter fight, and I think he'd win actually. That's not the story. I'm just saying you know, he's learned. He was a late blossom type guy. He got into boxing later, as far as, you know, he was into a young, but then took a big gap, and he's gotten better. You know, over the years he's gotten better. So you look at his record at first, and you may think, whatever. He had that fight where he just stood there and let the guy hit him and knocked him out, and so he's done some dumb stuff too. He's fun to listen to, I'll tell you that, on interviews. He talks some real honest trash, too. Some people call it talking trash, some people say honesty. But the guy will tell you how it is. And he's funny. He's a funny guy. But back to the way he fights. Good fighter, aggressive fighter, but smart fighter. You know, he's not just a brawler, but he can brawl. Just look at the Juan Diaz fight, you know. He came forward and let Diaz have it. So, I think overall... he's fought better talent than Bradley. Okay, let's talk about Timothy Bradley a little bit. Timothy Bradley is just it's funny, you know, he has some pop, but he doesn't have power. But it doesn't stop him. It doesn't stop him from coming forward. He comes forward and sometimes lunges forward at you. He's very aggressive. He got caught by Kendall Holt. He beat Junior Witter, beat Kendall Holt. Kendall Holt probably should have been an easier fight for him, even though it was kind of a pick'em type fight. I picked Bradley. I thought he'd box the you-know-what out of him. But he's a guy that can box, but he doesn't box that much. He's a brawler. He uses that, like Harold Letterman, you know, effective aggressiveness. And that's what he does, man. He's effective and very aggressive. And for a guy that... I think that was the first time he had been down in his last fight. Let me look at the time. Okay, I got a little time. That was the last time he had actually been down in a fight. I believe that was his first time. And he was smart. He used his head in that fight, Bradley. And I believe the second time he really got knocked down pretty hard. And he was on his way up, and he actually took a knee and calmed down for a little bit, got back up, and finished. You know, he's got a lot of heart. He fights, like I said, aggressive. He's a fun fighter to watch. Both these guys are, Campbell and Bradley. I do have to say though, I think experience. I think Campbell has more power. I think they're pretty close in speed. You know, you could probably go with Bradley on speed barely, but I just think the power, experience, and a guy that can do a variety of things in the ring. I'm looking at the time. I got a little time. I think that's going to be the difference. So I'm going to go with Nate Campbell to come up and weight and win the belt from him. So I have Junior Witter and I have Campbell for the night. And look out for the after the fight box score on this August 1st Showtime. This has been another edition of the Rope and Dope Report. I'm your host, Chris Carlson.